Is something I said? Okay. We're on 774, where the show goes on. At 774. No. Wait. So, yeah. We're on Perek Yud Pasuk Beis. There's some really interesting stuff. Parashat Beha'aloscha. Every parsha has like a kind of unique character to it. Like Bereshit's creation it's very Bereshit's creation is very esoteric. Noach is a lot of human nature, because it's when man first starts to behave. We see man's behavior. It's a lot of human nature. Every parsha has a character. Beha'aloscha is a series of very, very difficult very cryptic events that take place. There's the mun falls down and Miriam speaks Lashon Hara, and there's something. Each one is like almost a separate chapter, an independent unit. I've always been enchanted. Parashat Beha'aloscha, I've always found this very enchanting. This chair is not good. What happened to my chair? Something's not good. Oh, it was in the ridge over here. Okay. So in Perek Yud Pasuk Beis, it's on page 780. 780. No, I lied. It's on 782. And here is a completely different subject now. Yesterday we were talking about the Jews wandering around the desert and going through all their journeys. And then on page 782 it says like this, 5 lines from the top. Veidaber Hashem al Moshe lemor. Aseh lecha shtei chatzotzrot. Make 2 trumpets. Kesef miksha ta'aseh osam. You're going to make these trumpets out of silver. And the word miksha means that it's beaten out of one chunk. That means you take a chunk of silver and you shape it out of one chunk. Now we find this by the Aron Kodesh also. The kruvim. The kruvim are made, the top of the Aron Kodesh with the kruvim on it is all made out of it's beaten out of one piece of silver. Where else did you say?
Menorah.
The menorah. What's that? The kruvim are gold, right, but they're made out of one chunk. It means you didn't make them and then attach them.
Miksha, right?
You took it out of, that means that the kruvim which are growing, if this is the kruvim, I know this looks just like kruvim, right? But if this is the kruvim and this is the cover, and the kruvim are standing on the cover, you didn't make it then attach it. You took a piece of gold and carved out the entire project.
How do they have the ability?
That is a good question, and that's why, especially considering that Bezalel was 13 years old when he took on this project of building the Mishkan, and that's because, and they didn't have any training in
3D
Egypt.
Printer, maybe?
What's that?
3D printer?
Yeah, right. I'm still picturing a 3D printer as just like a regular printer where I photocopy my papers. That's how I'm picturing a 3D printer. But the Betzal, they didn't have any training, so it's only because of divine inspiration. If you willed it, you were willing to take it on, then you had the Siyata D'Shmaya to succeed. There is an opinion, I saw one of the commentaries, there is an opinion that they did practice in Egypt before they left Egypt, that they were practicing the craftsmanship. But the plain flow, good, hi Rabbi Geffen, there's plenty of room for you if you want to join us. The plain flow of the is that it was whoever was inspired to take it on did it. And when they did it, they didn't have any training, and they're just divinely inspired. That's the standard shot by Betzalel. Now, here it says they make 2 trumpets. They have to be miksha, also made out of it, and now these trumpets, the Torah is going to go on to describe. The trumpets are used for several things. One is when he wants to assemble the people, so they blow both trumpets. And one is when he wants to assemble the leaders of the tribes, then he blows one trumpet. So depending on what you hear, that'll determine on who's supposed to respond and what's supposed to happen. So for example, the when it was time for them to travel, they blow a number of trumpets. They blow the trumpets with a certain pattern, and then the people knew to start getting ready to travel. Then the cloud would move, and Moshe would give the command. When you wanted to assemble the Nesiim, so you called in the leaders with blowing one trumpet. That's what the Torah goes on to describe. And then it says, Asay Lechot. Now, I want you to see the Rashi. It's the right column of Rashi, 2 lines in. Right column of Rashi on page 782. Asay Lecha. Do you see the second line over there? Second line in the middle line. Asay Lecha. Ata osa umishtamesh bahem. You, Moshe Rabbeinu, are going to make these trumpets. V'lo acher. Nobody else is going to use these trumpets. That means after Moshe Rabbeinu dies, the trumpets go into the Geniza. What's that? Where you put away, when you take, like Sheamus, when you put away the Sfarim that are worn out, they buried. So the trumpets are not to be used by anybody else. They could be, they could be that's not accurate. It could be, I don't know if they put them in the Geniza. It says the Kohen Gadol's. I'm getting this confused with something else that was put into the Geniza. I think the Kohen Gadol's clothing that he wore on Yom Kippur was put into the Geniza. I may get into one thing is clear: nobody else uses these trumpets. After Moshe Rabbeinu uses them, 40 years Moshe Rabbeinu uses the trumpets, and if he has a meeting with the Nesiim, he blows the trumpets. He doesn't blow them. Actually, the Kohanim blow the trumpets. But then nobody else uses the trumpets. Nobody else blows them.
We still have the mitzvah to blow trumpets when we go to war?
No, today we don't blow trumpets.
Do we need Moshe? Or
what's that?
Do we need Moshe? Or
I didn't hear you.
We need Moshe Rabbeinu? Or it just...
Do we need Moshe Rabbeinu? We probably need we probably need the Beis Hamikdash or whatever it is that's used. We don't blow trumpets nowadays. Nowadays we use F-35s. They don't use it.
We have sirens.
The sirens is for us. The sirens is for us to get into your protected room.
Don't they blow for sirens, plague, and drought? For war, plague, and drought.
For what?
Trumpets were blown for.
They blow also when they went to war. We're going to see they went to blow when they went to war. That's what all he's asking about. They went to war. But nowadays we don't have these trumpets. They used to blow trumpets in the Mishnah says they used to blow trumpets and shofars together on fast days. And when they would daven, they would blow the trumpets. But here, the question is, there's a very interesting concept here. This is something that every shul rabbi has to know. And this is general, every parent has to know this, and every educator has to know this. Why is it nobody else uses Moshe Rabbeinu's trumpets? Moshe Rabbeinu used the trumpets. No one else uses them. The next leader, Yeshua, does not use trumpets. Yeshua didn't use any trumpets at all, actually used shofars. Why? So I heard, what do you say? You got an idea?
Well, just the way the verse says, make it yourself.
No, that's how we know it. That's how Rashi knows it. You make it yourself and nobody else is going to use it. The question is why? Why does nobody else use it? So Rav Weinbach Zatzal was one of the founders of Ohr Somayach. So he said, every leader has a message and a voice and a tone that he calls out to his generation. It means, what is the message today in our generation? What are the issues that have to be dealt with? It used to be in the yeshiva world, you're going to laugh. Years ago, in the yeshiva world, there's always the concept in the yeshiva, you don't want guys wasting time. And the yeshiva is the time for guys to be focused and learn. And in the more intensive yeshivas, they're meant to be learning all day long. They learn, they have a little break, and they have to learn. Don't waste time. What were the things that pulled people away from learning back when the Stipler, for example, writes in the book that what are the things that yeshiva bochum wasted time on? Reading newspapers, playing chess. Those were the things they wasted time on. If we saw a yeshiva guy reading a newspaper today, I mean, you'd take this guy as a son-in-law. If we saw yeshiva guys playing chess, my goodness, how did he get so sophisticated? What is the battle today? What is the issue? The issue today is this. When I was younger, what were parents always worried about? They're worried about their kids smoking cigarettes. Cigarettes. Today, Cigarettes, I wish he'd be smoking a cigarette, compared to what else they could be smoking, injecting, drinking, and then snorting. The battleground changes. What is the tone what is the leader speaks? Some generations, like when we were growing up, I was reminiscing with a friend of mine. I've told you this before. Nowadays, every parenting book in all magazines, Jewish parenting is all about psychology, how you got to be a psychologist with your kids. When we were growing up, I was reminiscing with a friend of mine, our fathers were not psychologists, they were physical therapists, right? Things have changed. Things have changed. It's a completely different generation, a completely different approach. And the trumpets symbolize the voice of the leader. The call of the leader is a different call in every generation. It's a different approach. When your parents, certainly my parents were raised by parents where hey kid, you were told what to do and you did it. And you were criticized and you took it like a man and you didn't go into a corner and cry. Nowadays, everything is, wow, you're doing great. Yeah, wow, that's terrific. That's wonderful. That's marvelous. I heard a story, terrible story. You'll love it. There was a kid, a frum kid who was off the derech. He came from a very frum home. Father was a rav, and he was a very frum home. And he went off completely. And one Friday night, a family friend was on his way to shul, and he sees this guy's hanging out on a corner with his buddies on Shabbos, smoking a cigarette, that sort of. And he looks at him and tries, you always have to try to be, what's the word they use, non-judgmental, and non-judging. And he comes over to the kid, and he's trying to be as accepting and try to project as little shock as possible. And he sees this kid, he says, Avram, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? He says, great. He says, what's going on? He says, I know what you're thinking. You're looking at me and you're thinking I'm a shagitz because I'm out. I want to tell you, I give my parents more nachas now than I've ever given them. He says, really? He says, yeah, when I was growing up, if I got a 90 on my Gemara test, my father said to me, why a 90? Why not a 95? Why not 100? What happened? What'd you get wrong? If I was late to davening, I said, why are you late to davening? Now, if I put on tefillin, my parents say to me, wow, we're so proud of you. You put on tefillin. Wow, you said Kriya Shema. I give my parents more nachas now than I ever did. It's tragic. But that's the message. You got to know that when you're, I just read an interview with Rav Mordechai Osband, who is the Rosh Yeshiva of one of the yeshivas here in Eretz Yisrael. He's American. His father was a European Rav in Cleveland. Rabbi Osband was a famous, one of the Gedolim in America. So he said when he was growing up, he once finished a Masechta Gemara. His father was a European Talmud Chacham, learned in the European yeshivas and tells. So he finished the Masechta Gemara, and he was feeling good about himself. So he came home and he told his parents, I made a siyum, I finished the Masechta. And his father said to him, when I learned that Masechta in Yeshiva, I reviewed it 6 times with all the Tosfos during the Zman. And this guy came out good. The boy, and nowadays you'd say that to a kid, goodbye. You can't talk. It's a different message. It's a different approach. We're different people. And that's what the chatzotzos are, number one. Number two, exactly what the two of you said. This word miksha, it's the chatzotzos, the 6th line where it says the chatzotzos are made miksha. Miksha means they're beaten out of one piece, right? They're beaten out of, how does the Art Scroll translate it? Miksha. Because that's really the...
hammered out.
Hammered out?
Doesn't even say. Skips it.
Make 2 silver trumpets, make them hammered out. Yeah, he says, the Art Scroll says hammered out, meaning you're hammering them out of one chunk of silver. That word miksha, like you said, Shlomo, applies by the menorah and applies by the Aron Kodesh, by the Kruvim. What's the common denominator of these three things? No, the menorah, you said the menorah was gold and the Aron Kodesh was gold. Here it's silver. Here it's silver. The common denominator is that they're all hammered out of one chunk. But what is the lesson? that these three things are hammered out of one chunk. So I saw somebody mentioned like this: the menorah represents Torah. The kruvim represents chinuch, raising children. And the trumpets represent leadership. Now the word miksha, what's obviously the root of the word miksha? Kasheh, which is what? It's hard. That means that when it comes to principles, when you're the leader, you have to have certain principles you're never going to bend. You're never going to compromise those principles. When it comes to standards for your children, you have to have certain standards that you're not going to compromise. And when it comes to Torah, that means that in Torah also, the menorah, which represents Torah, we have to have certain principles we're not going to compromise. Certainly we have to have a discipline in order to study Torah. They're all miksha. They are all very difficult pursuits. Rabbi Emanuel Feldman, there's a great book, if you want to read one of the best books, probably the best Jewish English literature book ever written, in my opinion, besides Impact. One of the greatest books is Tales Out of Shul. There used to be a movie called Tales Out of School. There was a book called Tales Out of School. So this Rabbi Emanuel Feldman, who was a Rav in Atlanta, he built up the Atlanta community. He wrote a book called, we're at page 782. He wrote a book called Tales Out of Shul. What it was like being a rabbi in a small town Atlanta community. When he arrived, there were 10 people, 12 people in the community. He built it up to a shul of hundreds of people. He basically built a city. So one of the problems was that when he arrived, there was no mechitza in the shul. And he got the board, he negotiated with them, he worked with them, and it took a couple of years till they agreed to put in a mechitza. So they bought this portable mechitza that they put down the aisle on Erev Rosh Hashanah. And he came into the shul a couple of days before Rosh Hashanah, and the mechitza was gone. So he called the head of the board, the president of the shul, and he said, "What happened to the mechitza?" And he said, "Well, we spoke to the chief of the fire department. They said it's a fire hazard. We had to take it out." So he said, "Listen, Bert, if that mechitza isn't in the shul when I walk in on Rosh Hashanah night, you're going to have to find yourselves a new rabbi." And he wasn't happy about it because he wanted the position, and he walked in and sure enough the mechitza was there because they wanted to keep the rabbi. Every rabbi of a community, especially in the 1950s and 60s in America, every rabbi knew that at a certain point he's going to have to pull that card, that trump card, which is either this way or I leave. Because there's got to be a line where you cannot compromise your principles. And when you don't compromise your principles, you gain respect. When you do compromise your principles, you lose respect. And many Orthodox Jews have found that as well, that when you go to work with a yarmulke, people respect you. People may say something to you on the street or whatever it is you may get, but when you stand for a principle, people respect you. My mother was a nurse. And she went to a Catholic nursing school for training, and one of the Catholic girls said to her, if our church, because my mother made it clear she can't eat the food, she only brings food from kosher food, they respected her for it. And one of the girls said to her, if our church would be as consistent as your church, I would be more religious. That's what she said to my mother. She called it a church, right? She said, if my church would be as consistent as your church, I'd be more religious. That's what she said. They respect that. But you should know that the miksha represents the consistency. I have to have a line, a hard line that I'm not going to cross. With children, it's also that way. Even though we have to be soft and raise them, the kids have to know that there's a certain line they can't cross. Kids have to know this is the line. Each parent, depending on the parents and their personalities and the kids, but there has to be a certain line. Okay. Then the Torah goes on to take a look, skip on ahead now to Perek Yud Aleph, Perek Yud Aleph, which is on page 786. And here the people start complaining. On page 786, the people start complaining. Vayihi ha'am kemisonanin ra be'oznei Hashem, bottom of 786. The people start complaining. Vayishma Hashem vayichar apo, Hashem got angry. Vativar bom esha Hashem vatochal biksei ha'machane. So the people started dying in a fire. You see, there's always, what were they complaining about? So Rashi says that they're looking for something to complain about, that they don't like the food. So there's always a way of making people realize how keeping things in the proper perspective. And later on when the Jewish people complained, so Hashem brings fiery serpents. So that always gives you a reset. It keeps things in the proper thing. Did I tell you the story about the mother with the note? The girl leaves the note for her mother. So the mother walks into her room, her 17-year-old daughter, and she sees a note on the bed. You didn't know the story? The mother walks in, she sees a note on the bed. Mom, I hate to tell you, from girl, I hate to tell you this. A few months ago, I met an Arab, and the two of us decided that we're going to elope. I know it's going to break your heart. You're probably going to sit shiva for me. I'm willing to keep a connection with the family, but it's just something I had to do. The mother is crying her eyes out. What? And her daughter sees it. Then at the bottom of the note it says, P.S. Mom, I'm just kidding. I just wanted you to know there are worse things in life than my report card, which you will find in my top desk drawer. Brilliant, right? Absolutely brilliant. I wish I would have thought of that in high school. Absolutely brilliant. About an hour later, she gets a text message from her father. Your little joke wasn't so funny. Mom collapsed. She's in the hospital on a respirator. If you want to see her again in this world, you better get down to the hospital in the next 45 minutes. And then the mom says, P.S. I'm just joking. I just wanted you to know there are worse things in life than the beating you're going to get when you come home tonight. So sometimes, let's keep it in the proper perspective over here. You started complaining, here, have some fire. That'll take care of the complaints. Then all of a sudden things aren't so bad. Okay. Then they start complaining again. And they have a desire for meat. There are deeper ideas over here, but just if you pick it up on the fourth line. Ve'asafsuf asher bekirvo hisavu tava. The asafsuf, how does he translate it? The rabble. Now, according to some, this is those who joined the Jewish people when they left Egypt, the Erev Rav, the pseudo converts who went with, they had a desire. Now, if you notice it says hisavu tava, which really translates it, they desired a desire. And what that means is that the Jewish people got to such a high level after receiving the Torah that they actually were lacking desire. They desired to have desire. Sometimes in life, you see somebody you could be sitting at a table and you ate. Friday night you ate. I mean, you're full. And next thing you know, they bring out they bring out you thought it was the main course, so you filled up on chicken. And the next thing you know, they bring out some ribs. Oh boy, I wish I had room for that. I desire the desire. I can't even look at it. You desired the desire. At one level, it's just a trust that they're just a bunch of guys who wish we had some certain desires. At a deeper level, the Meforshim say, they felt they don't even have free choice anymore. They want to serve Hashem on a higher level. We want to be able to serve Hashem where we have to fight our desires. Which sounds very noble, right? Sounds very noble. So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting to serve Hashem at a higher level? The answer is that was the sin of Adam. Why did he eat the original fruit? Because he felt, I want to serve Hashem on a higher level. But what's wrong with that? That's very noble, isn't it? What's wrong with that? The answer is because Hashem said, don't eat the fruit. That's what's wrong with it. Serve me the way I want to be served, not the way you want to serve me. If you don't have the desire because you received the Torah, you're on that level. Don't go and try put yourself into a different situation. I want you to serve me now on this level. And hisavu tava, you desired a desire. You wanted to have the desire. That already is problematic. And then they talk about, we remember what we had in Egypt, And what's the problem now? Go down to Pasuk Zayin. Ve'ata nafshenu yevesha. We're dry. Ein kol bilti el haman einenu. All we look at is mun. We have the manna in the desert. That's all we're eating is mun. Now, the truth of the matter is that the mun could taste like anything. According to many of the commentaries, the mun not only could taste like what you thought it to taste like, it could have that texture. So if you want if you want the mun to taste like ribs, it'll taste like ribs and it'll even have rib texture. Don't they have something called the Impossible Burger? They said the Impossible Burger, which is made out of something, I don't know what it's made out of, but it not only tastes like burger, it even bleeds like a burger.
Yep. No joke.
Is it good?
The Impossible is better.
The Impossible.
The Impossible Burger. It's a different brand.
Right. Which one?
Beyond and Impossible.
I've had Beyond. I didn't like it. I think I had the Impossible once. The guy ruined it. They put on too much mayonnaise or something.
I mean, it's crazy. Look, cannot tell the difference.
I would love to have that because it's probably not as heavy. You don't feel as heavy as meat. But I would love to have that, the Impossible Burger. I think they have something here Beyond. Oh, it's a different company. It's a different company. It's on a very high spiritual level over here. You know, talking about the meat that I would love to have. Beyond. So the Impossible Burger, but it's not a burger at the end of the day. Now the mun it tasted like it, and it felt like it. The problem is that part of the enjoyment with eating is what you're looking at. You want to see it. I told you, watermelon, watermelon just looks happy. It's red, it's green, it looks like it's smiling at you. And inevitably, by the way, you'll see this in summer now, we're getting to watermelon season. Wherever Shabbos table you're at, as soon as they bring out the watermelon, there's always someone at the table who says, "Oh wow, watermelon." I don't know why that is. No one ever says, "Oh wow, apples." But as soon as watermelon comes, there's always somebody that, "Oh wow, watermelon." Yes, I know what it is. Now, if the watermelon wasn't red and green, if the watermelon was just a transparent color, it just wouldn't be the same. There's something about the color makes you happy. It enhances. Isn't there something a whole discipline of food presentation? The fruit, how you make the food look, it looks good. They're telling them, listen. That's why I look at the words. Ke'ein kol bilti el haman einenu. Our eyes only see the mun. It's very precise. We're not saying that we're upset that we have to eat the stuff, but it's all we ever get to see. Bilti el haman einenu, pasuk zayin. Our eyes only get to feast on mun. I want to feast on a good piece of rib steak before I start eating it. Now, why is it that the mun tastes like anything? Why does the mun get to taste like it? There are only 5 things it doesn't taste like, which Rashi said, I think, Parashat Beha'aloscha. Those are the things, doesn't taste like onions or garlic, or the things that are bad for a pregnant woman.
So the cucumber, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic.
Right. Wait, does he say it over here?
Yeah, it says it in Pasuk Dovid. No, hey.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, right. It doesn't have the things that the mun. Why? These are all things that are not good for a nursing woman. And I can tell you for a fact that when a nursing mother has onions, inevitably the baby starts crying. He gets cramped stomach. I've seen it where my wife or my daughters or somebody in the house who's nursing, and they forget and they eat something with onion, and then later on in the day the baby's got cramps. I said, "Well, what did you have for lunch today?" "Nothing. I didn't eat anything. But for breakfast I had some. I had some cabbage with the thing." And when I know cabbage, the baby, they get cramps from it. It's just tried and tested. When the mother eats these things, there's something about them that's either very sharp or gassy or whatever it is, and the baby starts crying. And you see that the Torah says that. So why is it that it does have all the tastes though? A very, very interesting concept. Who was the merit? You know that the well, they had a well. Whose merit was the well there? In whose merit was the well there? Miriam. Be'era shel Miriam, the Gemara refers to it. Miriam's well, which is interesting because the word mayim, mem yud mem, is mayim, and her name is Miriam, Mem Resh, Yud Mem. She's got the word Mayim in her name, because Miriam has the letters Mem Yud Mem right in her name. It's just with an added Resh. So the well was in the merit of Miriam. The clouds of glory were in the merit of Aaron. Sukkot is called Chag of Aaron because the sukkah represents, the sukkah is a commemoration of the clouds of glory. The mun was in the merit of whom? Of Moshe Rabbeinu. The mun fell in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who brought the Torah. All wisdoms, all pleasures are in the Torah. And therefore the mun tastes like, or has all the tastes. It corresponds to Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. You want to experience the joy of life, you learn Torah. You got every branch of wisdom is covered here. Every type of benefit. At a highest level, a person learning Torah could actually experience Torah like somebody eating meat. It's filling like meat. Moshe Rabbeinu, it's his merit that the mun fell. Therefore, the mun has all these tastes, and that's why the people are complaining. Though they're still complaining, because at the end of the day, it's not the same thing as eating food. You know, Pepsi once tried marketing. Pepsi tried. Coke had that great marketing, which they claim was a mistake. I'm not 100% sure it was a mistake. Do you remember they changed the formula of Coke? At one point, they changed the formula of Coke. For 3 months, the sales of Coke dropped, and there was almost a civil war in the United States. So what happened? They eventually brought back, and they called the original Coke Classic. And boom, it went off. It was considered marketing genius. If they, it's not clear if they made a mistake or they tried tampering with the formula and said they were going to burn down the country. So they brought back something called Coke Classic. Coke Classic, they brought it back, and it went off the charts. Pepsi tried once marketing something called Pepsi Clear. Do you remember that?
Oh, vividly.
They took out the black coloring of of Pepsi
Like Sprite.
because they felt that people, when it's clear, people think it's healthier. They left in the taste, just as much caffeine, but somehow to take out the color. It bombed on the market. I'm a Pepsi guy, not a Coke guy. If I'm drinking Pepsi, I want it looking unhealthy too. I don't just want it to be unhealthy. I want to see that it's unhealthy. I want that, and it bombed on the market because you eat with your eyes, and therefore that's what the people are complaining about.
Did you ever see the advert for Pepsi with where they incorporated Coke? Coke did a thing that was like they made an advertisement for Coke and it did something against Pepsi. So Pepsi made one back. So it's a kid who goes to a vending machine.
And he stacks up cans of Coke.
2 things of Coke, stands on top of them
To reach the Pepsi button. Yeah, brilliant. When I was growing up, they never showed you the other product because they felt they didn't want to just advertise for you. They felt if they were doing a commercial, they would always say, "I tried the leading brand," and they would have to pass it without you seeing it because they don't want to give the other leading brand free advertisement.
Iron Brew.
Huh?
Yeah, about Iron Brew. Iron Brew. Never heard of this? Dad never told you? You must have had it in Manchester.
What's it called?
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew? No.
It's a Scottish drink. It's like fluorescent orange. It has a warning on the back of it, like may have adverse effects on children. It's got enough caffeine to put down like a horse.
I'll take 2.
They used to have something in America. They had a drink called Jolt, which became illegal. Jolt was very popular in college campuses right around midterms and exam times, and they would drink it. It was like twice the sugar, 4 times the caffeine, and heart palpitations. That was and eventually they made it illegal. Then they came out with these energy drinks. There was also the big ketchup company, I think once tried a different colored ketchup. Heinz, I think they came up with something like rainbow ketchup or blue and green ketchup, or they tried green ketchup, something like that. It bombed because if I'm having ketchup, I want red tomato ketchup, even though the red in ketchup has nothing to do with tomatoes. The red in ketchup is pure food coloring because the ketchup pulp is actually transparent. It's white, transparent, and then they color it. But when I'm having ketchup, which comes from tomatoes, so I want red. That's human nature. That's who we are. And therefore, that's what they were complaining about. Okay, now, take a look. Let's go on to the end of the Parsha, where Moshe Rabbeinu, and we have the chapter, the section over here where there's Lashon Hara is spoken. It's on page 794. And the Torah says like this, V'tedaber, it's on 794, eight lines from the top. V'tedaber Miriam ve'Aaron b'Moshe, Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe, al odos ha'isha ha'kushis asher lakach. Now, kushis, the literal translation of kushis means a black woman from the tribe of Cush. But in this context, it means a beautiful woman, because her beauty was as obvious as a Cushite's woman color, and therefore, that's what Rashi points out, and therefore it referred to it as Cushite. Right? The translation is Cushite. Ki isha kushis lokach. Now there is an opinion that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he ran away from Egypt, so where was he all those years? So the text of the Torah says that Moshe Rabbeinu simply ran off to Midian. But there is an opinion that he was 40 years he was the king of Cush. It was often translated as Ethiopia. There's a medrash that he was the king of Cush. And when the previous king's wife, when the previous king died, they wanted Moshe to marry the widow. And Moshe would not marry her. She wasn't a Jewish woman. He would not marry her. So there is an opinion that that's what Miriam and Aaron were talking about. That's kind of an off the track. That's the off the beaten track opinion. Here they're talking about his wife Tzipporah, and Moshe Rabbeinu separated from her. When he came down from Sinai, Moshe Rabbeinu separated from his wife. That was in the second year of as soon as they came out of Mitzrayim, first year. And now Miriam and Aaron, it said, Vayomru harak ach b'Moshe diber Hashem. Is Moshe, why did he separate? Did Hashem only speak to Moshe? Is he the only prophet? Halo gam banu diber. Hashem speaks to us, and we did not leave our spouses. We still live with our spouses as husband and wife. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu feel that he had to separate from his wife? Now, the reason Moshe Rabbeinu separated, because Moshe Rabbeinu said, knowing that he could get prophecy access and receive prophecy at any time, Moshe Rabbeinu felt that he has to be in a state of purity. He cannot ever be impure. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu separated from his wife, which Hashem ratified. But this story, the background of this story, is that the 70 men that Moshe Rabbeinu appointed as assistants experienced prophecy. And Moshe Rabbeinu heard Tzipporah, Miriam, who was Moshe's sister, she heard Eldad and Medad became prophets. Miriam heard Tzipporah saying that Tzipporah, Moshe Rabbeinu's wife, said, Oy vey, I feel bad for the wives of Eldad and Medad, who became prophets. She said to Miriam, I feel bad for them. Miriam said, wow, their wives are so lucky, their husbands became prophets. And Tzipporah's response was, I feel bad for their wives, because now their husbands are going to separate from them. And Miriam said, why do you say that? So my husband separated from me once he became a prophet. So then Miriam went to Aaron and said, why does he think he's better than the rest of us? That's Lashon Hara. Right there, that's Lashon Hara.
Why was Zipporah not punished?
Oh, so everybody asked why Tzipporah was, because Tzipporah was only saying a fact. Tzipporah wasn't saying he did anything bad. She's just saying a fact. Moshe Rabbeinu separated from me. It's a good question. Many people have asked that question. Why didn't Zipporah? She just said, boy, I feel bad for their wives. This is going to be a hard life. It's like if your husband gets appointed the CEO of a company, and then you say to somebody else, boy, I feel bad for his wife, because being a CEO is going to take a. I'm not saying he did something wrong. I just say these are the facts. When he's the CEO, he's going to be away from the house a lot. And Zipporah says, wow, I feel bad for their wives if their husbands became prophets, because they're not going to have a husband anymore. So Miriam said, what do you mean? Well, my husband separated from me totally. And Miriam says to Aaron, why did he separate? We didn't separate. Now, the question over here is, why is that Lashon Hara? And look at the next pasuk. Ve'ish Moshe anav me'od mikol ha'adam asher al pnei ha'adama. Moshe is the most humble man of anybody. That means that he was aware of what they said and didn't bother him. Now, take a look at Rashi. Oh no, not yet. So, the first question is, why does Miriam get involved here? Why does Miriam get involved that she goes to Aaron? Let's say Zipporah said it to Miriam. Let's say you're Miriam and Zipporah said it to you. So why does she go over and talk to Aaron about it? Why is Miriam talking about it? And the Torah is emphasizing Moshe is very humble. That means if he did it, he wasn't lording himself over anybody else. He didn't feel he's better than anybody else. He did it because I have to, because I'm a prophet. But ironically, very ironic, why did Miriam even go to Aaron over here? Why does Miriam go to Aaron? Okay, so Zipporah said it. Okay, why are you going to Aaron? It's very interesting. When's the last time a man separated from his wife? Think good. Think good. When is the last time a man separated from his wife?
Or their mother.
Good. When Paro made the decree to throw the Jewish boys into the Nile, so the Torah says that Amram separated from his wife, Yocheved. He said, what should we bring children into the world for? They're just going to toss them into the Nile. So why did he rejoin his wife?
But Miriam.
Miriam came over to him, and what did she say to him? Your decree is worse than Paro's decree. Paro only made the decree on the males. By not living with your wife, they're not going to bring any males or females into the world. So Amram rejoins his wife, and what happens? Moshe Rabbeinu is born. So Miriam sees herself right here. She says, 1 second. The last time this happened, it wasn't a good idea. And who was the one who made the suggestion? It was me. And who's the one who should know more than anybody else that it's not a good idea? Moshe Rabbeinu, because he's the result of them having rejoined together, that he's the one who was born as a result. So she sees it as very natural for herself to get involved. And who does she go to? She goes to Aaron. What was Aaron's role among the Jewish people? He was the Shalom Bayis man. So if there's anybody who's going to convince Moshe to rejoin, so it's going to be Aaron. It all works out very nicely. There's only one problem. You overstepped your bounds. You should have realized you're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. V'ayish Moshe anav mikol ha'adam. He's different. He's different. There was a not to make any comparison, but there was a college basketball coach who was once talking about the NBA. He said, where else in the world can you see the best players in the world all together under one roof? And Michael Jordan above it. That means that, yeah, you're right, but there's certain, he's above everybody else. When Michael Jordan was playing, the discussion of who's the best player started out with who's the second best player. It was a given that he's the best player. Who's the second? There's certain times in life, I'm not making any comparison, obviously, but by way of analogy. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he's different. Whatever your rules are, your father, your brother, yourself, it doesn't matter. You should have realized he's different, hands off of Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Torah says, Veish Moshe Anav. Now this is one of the great ironies of history. Who wrote these words?
Moshe.
Moshe wrote these words, remember? Moshe wrote that Moshe is more humble than anybody else. Now picture that. Moshe Rabbeinu is writing the Torah, and he picks up the quill, and he writes down, I am the most humble person in history.
Flexing in the mirror.
Right? I am. You think about, okay, so he was obviously told to do it by God. He was told by Hashem to write those words. And I imagine it was difficult for Moshe to write those words because he's truly the most humble person in history. But what this tells you is that our idea of what humility is has nothing to do with what humility is. A person has an obligation to recognize who he is. Knowing who you are and writing it down doesn't make you not humble. It's just that a person who's humble understands no matter what I am, it has nothing to do with it. It's a gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me. Not only that, one of the commentaries says, you know what the difference between a humble person and a haughty person is? The haughty person has flaws. He knows he has flaws. The real me is good. My flaws are just something outside of me which I got to work on. The humble person says, the flaws are me. Anything good is something that's a gift, but the flaws are the real me. Who's the real me? Teenagers often say that, you don't know the real me. Right? Hey, buddy, the real you is your behavior. Right? So if you're a drug-addicted, a gambler, and an uncooperative adolescent who beats up policemen, that's the real you, buddy. You don't know the real me. Teenagers are always like that. Really, inside, I'm really a good person. Yeah, if you're such a good person, let's see your behavior. The real you is your behavior. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the most, Miriam, it's hands off, and she gets punished. And not only that, Moshe Rabbeinu then says a tefillah for her. Look at the tefillah that Moshe Rabbeinu says, page 796. When Aaron comes to Moshe, he says, hey, it's our sister, we need to daven for her. So look on page 796, 8 lines from the top. Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem lebor kel na refat na la. Please Hashem, cure her. Now, as once looking at these 5 words, it is the shortest possible tefillah that you could say. Each word is 2 letters, except for the word refa is 3 letters. That's the whole tefillah. Kel, na, please. Refa, na, la. Please, now, cure her. Couldn't be any shorter. That's the tefillah Moshe Rabbeinu says for his sister. No nepotism here. I'm going to daven, but it's going to be a short one. And Moshe Rabbeinu says that's tefillah for his sister. That's how he... Huh? He doesn't want to inconvenience... Why is it short?
Why is it just small?
He doesn't, I think I saw, he doesn't want the Jewish people to see that, it's because his sister, now he's going to stand there with a long Shemona Esrei and daven. Listen, I'm going to daven, I'm going to make it as quick as possible because she's no different than anybody else and we can't have the entire Jewish people waiting for her. Can't have the entire Jewish people taking up my leadership role as the leader of Jewish people. I can't now stand because my family member is in trouble. Now I'm going to take time off of my job and I'm going to sit and daven. So this is a quick tefillah for Miriam, to show that it's not is what I would do for anybody else. That's what I do for her. Can't now divert myself from what my role is as the leader of Jewish people because my family member is in trouble. And so the shortest tefillah possible. And the lesson is that tefillah doesn't have to be, tefillah doesn't have to be a long thing. It has to be from the heart. It's our Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem. It's he yells out. That means it's coming from the heart. Kel narafon Allah. That's enough. I think I told you, my brother once had the assignment. My younger brother, he's the one we don't talk about. So he had an assignment in school that they gave him a list of 20 words. When he was in about 5th grade, they gave him a list of 20 words: book, baseball, aardvark, telephone. Let's go home and write a sentence with make a sentence up with each of these words. Remember those assignments? So my brother went home and he figured out the shortest sentence you could possibly write in the English language. I am a book. I am an aardvark. I am a telephone. I am a ball. And he handed it in. The teacher wasn't amused. My parents were. They thought they were amused. The teacher wasn't amused. It says, you said a sentence, I wrote a sentence. You said a sentence, and I wrote a sentence. So that's where the spirit of the law conflicts with the letter of the law. By the letter of the law, he did the right thing. Spirit of the law, as we all knew, that wasn't what you were supposed to do. Okay.
There's a shorter thing.
Which is?
My teacher told me to write a sentence.
Thank you, Denise.